and welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Here in the UK, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze, it's Monday the 23rd of September. It's 10 a.m. in the morning and my name's Jenny McCormac. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire, and that is here in the UK. Thank you so much for joining me. If you joined me last week, either here live on Thursday evening or you've caught up subsequently on YouTube, you will have seen the basic cards that we created for Coffee and Card using the Yuletide Village stamp set, which is this one here. So I'm actually going to step that up this morning and mix it with another set of stamps and dies called Encircled in Nature. And this was inspired entirely by another demonstrator, Monique, who is based in the Netherlands, I believe. I will confirm and pop a link to her blog. She's one of our artisan design team members, and so they're based around the world and they take stamp sets, dies, any Stampin' Up products, and they come up excuse me, with lots of inspiration for demonstrators and for customers worldwide. One of the things she did was she added the Yuletide Village. I think she used the church, I'm pretty sure she used the church, in a centerpiece from Encircled in Nature. Now we did use this for Coffee and Card quite a while ago. It is in the annual catalogue and it has this lovely edging that goes round an aperture. Morning Caroline, thank you so much for joining us, and anybody else who is watching already. And she used some of the dies to create the aperture and then had the church inside. So I'm going to try and recreate that. She used a standard size card. I'm using a square card because I thought it might look nice as a centerpiece on a square card. And this is Evening Evergreen. And what I've done is I've used two dies so far. So there are two of these. There's an outside and an inside. So this is the slightly smaller one. And then we have this die here that I'm going to use to put on the top. Now, you could easily cut that in gold, for example. Actually, that would look really nice. But she had everything, excuse me, in evergreen. So I'm going to try that. But that would look also nice in gold or white. So that is going to go on the outside. And then I've got a piece of white card that's going to go inside. And I'm going to stamp our church on there with the extra bits and pieces from the Encircled in Nature. So that's the plan. I haven't tried it. It was just an idea that I saw and I thought I really would like to try that. So that's the Encircled in Nature, which you can find in our annual catalogue. This is Yuletide Village, which you're using for Coffee and Card this afternoon and tomorrow. It's been a really popular stamp set. If you buy that from me, excuse me, this week, you'll get 5 note cards and envelopes and layers so that you can create 5 cards straight off. It's a really easy set to use. It's one of those that just does, basically. Here's a couple of samples from last week. So just stamping the houses along there. And here's another sample of a similar one. And then this is the church, like that. And all of these, not the greetings, but all of those other elements come in the stamp set. And then I've done 2 little tags here that are perfect for Christmas. So a little bit of colouring, but you could just leave them all white if you wanted to. Let's leave those to the side. and let's get cracking. So I hope you've had a good weekend. The weather here is absolutely foul. I think we're expecting 5 centimetres of rain today alone, and I think we're expecting the month's worth this week. So I've already die cut this aperture, and I am going to place this on the top, but I'm going to decorate the outside of the card first, and we're going to be using the stamp set for the inside. So let's do that element first. So what I'm going to do is just position this roughly here, like that, and then hopefully I've got a pencil to hand, which I have, and I'm just going to mark, basically where this aperture is, like so. And I'm going to put the T here for this is the top, because if I take this out and move it around, I want to make sure it's in the right place. So that's just, I've just positioned that centrally in there, folded the aperture over, and just drawn a line which I can rub out later. So let's do this element first. So I've got the church which I'm going to stamp, and I can come outside of my element here, but I want to make sure obviously that that is the central focus point. Morning Diana, how lovely to have you join us. So sorry we couldn't see you on Saturday. We had a great time, but I'm loving this stamp set. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp this in Pebbles Path. You could use any grey, you could use a brown, really anything you've got that's like that. So I'm just inking this up like so. So I've just marked my aperture in pencil, and I want some space because the other element I'm going to use is this set here of the trees, because we're going to basically frame our little picture. So I want to make sure that it's, although it's going to overlap, I don't want it you know, too off to one side or whatever. So I think that will be okay, positioning in here. Could have it just slightly up and across, like so. So there is the church. Obviously you could use the houses as well. There's that. And then I've got my elements here that are going to go in. So what I'm going to do, now I've positioned that, is I can rub those lines out. And I did have an eraser here. Which of course I can't find. Have I got one on the end? No, on the end of that one I haven't. Okay. Well, bear with me. Let's get my first aid kit. This is my card first aid kit that has a glue remover, it has an ink remover, it has post-it notes and a rubber, and it also has plasters for humans. Okay, so I'm just going to rub this out now, because if I apply a layer of ink, for example, onto this, I won't be able to remove this line. Okay, take my T out. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp my trees in there from my Encircled in Nature, and it doesn't matter if this comes outside of my aperture at all. Let's just use this one again. It's a little bit overkill, but it will do the job. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. Certainly changing the weather, but it's still warm here, that is the thing. It's not cold. Well, not unless you get wet in the rain, of course. Hi Carol, thanks for joining us. Okay, so that's going to go in there. So I'm just going to ink this up. Now I know this is quite a light ink because it's been well used and I haven't refilled it recently, so I'm doing it more than you probably would if you've got a newish ink pad. You have to bear in mind that my ink pads are used day in, day out by lots of people. Obviously if you've got new ink pads you'll probably only need a couple of taps. So I'm just going to position this, hopefully, so that it's going around the church. There we go. So this is what it's going to look like when it's in here. You'll see those elements there, like that. Okay, but we're going to have this around the front. Okay, and we're going to add some more detail to the front as well. So let us just quickly colour those elements in. Hi Lynn, thank you for joining us. Right, so I've got some blends pens to hand. I'm not going to spend a lot of time colouring this in because it's straightforward. Let me just grab, I'm just going to do the windows in yellow. Just take my glasses off for a second. And now somebody had a great idea on Friday. Oh, it was Jenny Shepherd, I'm pretty sure, on Friday, was that you could make these stained glass windows by just doing the windows in different colours. I thought that was a great idea. Okay, so I've just got some yellow windows. I've got the church itself to do. Let's just see if I've got dark crumb cake. Normally I would use light, but we do need our church to stand out with everything else going on. And obviously you could do some blending on this. It's quite a small area, to be honest. So if you're not a fan of blending and colouring in, you could leave the whole thing white. You could use watercolour pencils, and because it's a small area you could even use Stampin' Up markers if you've got those. They're the water-based markers that are like our inks. Okay, so I'm just doing this fairly quickly. So I've got snow across the top there. I'm going to leave that white. And the only stamp I haven't used in this, although they used it on Friday and at our launch event on Saturday, was the sort of little cabin cottage piece. Okay. Right. Okay, that will do. I'm going to do the little, still a different colour I think, and maybe the edges of the roof. And I'm assuming that bit and that bit is the snow, rightly or wrongly. And if in doubt, you can look at the samples in the catalogue. All of the stamps in the catalogue have samples that go with them. And if you're ever wondering how a particular sample was made, there is a list of recipes that tell you what products were used in any of the samples, and if ever you want that, just let me know and I can send it to you. You won't want to print it out, it's a huge document, but it does list the products that are used and any particular techniques, and that's one of the things that are available to us as demonstrators, but we can share that with you if you are a customer. Okay. I could do this roof spire a different colour, but just for speed I'm going to do that. Let's just have, what have I got here? This is one of our skin tones. It's a nice sort of wood colour. That one. And let's do the edges there. So good morning to you, Carol Vasquez. Nice to have you join us. You're obviously not working this morning. Okay. Just the speed, I'm going to do the steps and the sills the same colour. And maybe the roof, so I'm thinking that is snow coming down. So there's my roof. Okay, so we've got a tree in the background and we've got snow here, and I want to put some sky elements in there. So I'm going to be using a blending brush with some blue ink. Let's add some detail for that tree, and I've got shaded spruce here. I'm just going to try a different colour first, because I think the dark shaded spruce on top of the others just won't show, it'll cover up the detail of these trees. There we go. But what I might do is add a little bit of jade. Just jade is a retired colour, but all the time there's ink in the blend, so I'm going to carry on using it. Right, we've got a wreath here around the window, and there's a tiny little bow at the top. And somewhere here I've got a red pen. There we go. And missed a tiny little bit there. Right, okay, so that's our basic scene. That's going to go in here, like so. And then I'm going to decorate the front with this piece, and I'm going to stamp some more trees. So I just want a little bit of blending here with my blue brush. Which I've got here. Let me grab a piece of this. Perfect, that's probably got enough on there. And I was looking to see if I had a spare aperture piece. What I'm going to do is I just want it roughly in that area. I wonder if I got Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the back of that in case I get any ink anywhere else. just to fill in here. Now ideally what I would do is probably cut a circle and pop it on there, but this will do for the time being. So I've turned this over so it's on the back. That's perfect. And then just add a little bit more up here. It's still raining out here, and according to the forecast it's going to rain all day. Okay, so there's a bit of blue for my sky. So can you see we've got our scene come together? That's going to go on the inside. And right, let me put my glasses back on. Okay, so I'm happy with that. You could put a Christmas sentiment across the top or across the bottom. Okay, because I put this in the middle. But if you did it on a standard size card which will fit, you could have this much higher up and then you have space underneath. So let's see what that's looking like here, whether we need to add anything else. I'm going to put that in roughly there. There we go. Okay, so I've got this piece that's going to go on the top like that, and I'm going to, so I'm not worried about the fact that I've got a little bit of a gap here, because this is going to go over the top, so I'm not worried. And also you could position it with a thicker element down here like that. So what I'm going to do is, I think I could stamp that same set of trees here, couldn't I? Let's give it a go. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're live, do say hi. If you're watching on catch up or replay, do pop a hi in the comments. It's lovely to know who's caught up with us. But also, if you have any questions, then you could pop those in there as well. So I'm just going to bring this down here on the outside, like so. And this Encircled in Nature also has a single tree here. So I'm going to add that. Let's see if I've got a smaller block to hand. Not easily, they're all being cleaned. Okay, let's do it that way. So I'm just building up the decoration at the front. Yes, that would work. And I'm going to use shaded spruce, but what I am going to do is, what I'm going to try to do is add some snow detail using white ink. I'm going to use the refill and just spatter the front of the card with some ink. So this is tone on tone stamping. So you use the same colour ink as your card and you get this lovely tone on tone. So I'm just going to bring that one down. Let's just have another one here on the right hand side, like so. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do next is apply that. And I'm just going to dot some glue on the reverse of here, just in the large areas. Now if you've got a fine tip glue, that's perfect. And I'm just going to use our standard Tombow glue, which we call it, well, it's called multi-purpose glue. And I'm just going to, because it allows me to show you how much I'm putting on. Let me just pierce that top, it's got a bit There we go. So I'm just literally going to put a tiny dot. So once I've got the glue moving, I'll lift it up so you can see it. Now I'm avoiding too many of the inside pieces because I don't want that to interfere with my aperture. Like so. Now this glue is strong, and your best bet is, if you're working on an area where it's going on something that is quite non-porous, then you want to let it sit for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, just to start to go tacky. Otherwise it's too wet and it'll move around, which you can use to your advantage. Okay, so just going to work out on there. Maybe I'll have this bit here where that little gap was. It's not critical. There's not a not really a right or wrong way for this to go on. I could have also done that in white, gold, or silver. Okay, so I'm just holding that down for a second. And I just want to see, yeah, I've got a tiny bit on there that I want to get rid of. That's it. Okay. So just making sure there's no loose glue there that's going to close my aperture up. Okay, and now I'm going to add some white specks. Now I did this, funny enough, last week in our team meeting, and one of the options was to use an old toothbrush, and this was suggested by the lovely Susan as one of her ideas on how we could make backgrounds. And so I'm just going to use some of our white refill. So when you buy a white ink pad, it's quite a different texture. It's a craft ink. It's not a water-based ink. So you end up, when you buy one, you get a blank pad, and you have the ink to basically fill it and then refill it. You don't need a lot of ink on there to start with, so don't overfill it. You could even just use half your ink pad. So it comes with a standard size ink pad like that. So all I'm going to do, and this could be messy, which is why I've got this on here. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Now what I would probably do, and I might need to do, is add some water to this to make it a little bit more liquid. But we'll just try. And I was going to flick it with my fingers, but I'll end up completely covered. So throw it that way. Yeah, definitely needs more ink on it. More water, rather. Let me just grab a little bit of water. Bear with me 1 second. Right, sorry about that, I didn't think that far through, did I? Okay, so I've got a little lid with some water, and let's try it this way. I'm just going to put some, you'll see what I mean about how, can't think of the word. What it's like. Thick. Okay. So that's better. Let's see. Oh, okay, so I've got plenty on there. I'm glad I didn't try that on my project. Okay, so I'm downloading a little bit of that. It's very white. Okay, I need to put that somewhere safe and grab another piece. Oh dear. Right, put it on the back of this order form. Okay, right, what I want to do is I want to cover that up so it doesn't go all over the back. And bear in mind when you're using this that this will need a bit of time to dry. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that on there. Hopefully it will be enough. Yes. So that tiny, I only put a tiny little bit on there. There we go. What do we reckon? Give that a go. So make sure you clean that off and make sure you mark it as a craft toothbrush so somebody doesn't use it by mistake. Okay, lift this off. Right, need to let that dry. Quite effective, isn't it? Okay, now obviously this is still wet, so I'm being very careful, fingers crossed, not to put my finger in it and move it everywhere. So I'm not going to stick this down until that is dry, so I'm just going to position that inside like so, and then when this is dry, it won't take that long unless you've got it really wet, the front is going to come down like that. Let me lift it up. It's not quite in the right position, but you'll get the idea. So there we go. What do you reckon? So this is Yuletide Village matched with Encircled in Nature. But if you didn't have this, you could just use a circular aperture or a different shape aperture. You could use a heart, for example. But this is perfect for that little scene on the inside. And what I might do is add a little bit more blue for my sky, but I want to let that settle as is. So I hope you like it, and I'll add a Christmas greeting probably on the top so that you can then sign it here at the bottom, or I guess you could put a small Christmas greeting across the bottom here or on the side if you wanted to. So once the white of my card is fully dry, it's nearly there, but I don't want to smudge it and spoil it, then I will add my layer in and my card is done. So I hope you like it. Thank you to Monique for her inspiration to start with. That's one of the many benefits of being a demonstrator, is we have access to these lovely artisan design team, which are based around the world, and they come up with lots of ideas and inspiration for us, as well of course as all the samples in the catalogue. So this stamp set, Yuletide Village, can be found on page 56. There is a lovely falling snow stamp set that you could stamp in white, would make a lovely background scene. And there are some samples on page 57, and here we've got one going around the candle, we've got one on the card, and we've got one here in a picture frame. So thank you so much everyone. Do take care. I will finish that off, I promise, as soon as it's dried. I'm not going to use a heat gun because I want all of that to dry naturally, but what I am going to do is just open out and keep it like so. If you wanted to add some more white, you can let that dry and then apply another spattered layer if you wish. but I'm quite happy with that overall design. Hi Caroline, thank you. Oh, and thanks Diana. And Carol says good morning. She's a bit late, but she's caught a good technique. Excellent. Thank you so much. So yeah, so that's spattering, and then as I said, you can use an aperture, cut it out, draw a line around the aperture for your picture on the inside. Doesn't matter what size it is or what shape it is or anything. You want to make sure that you're larger than the aperture itself, so you haven't got white space around it too much. Obviously I've got snow in this case, and I hope you give that the whole technique a go. Let me pop that underneath there, give you an idea of what it will look like. Okay, so thank you so much everyone. I will photograph it finished. I look forward to Coffee and Card this afternoon and also tomorrow in Brackley. So if you are local and you want to join us, then please do. Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody who was able to come to my catalogue launch on Saturday. It went really, really well. All of the orders have been placed, so they should be here. Shipping is very quick at the minute, so it should be here in the week, this week. So if you have ordered anything from me recently, you'll get it next time I see you. Thank you so much. Do take care everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe if you're in the UK with all this rain around, or if you're anywhere else with somewhat extreme weather conditions. Do take care. Thanks for joining me, and bye for now.